This is Locally Sourced Spirituality with John Paul, encouraging sustainable and organic spiritual practices. You don't have to go anywhere to find the holy. It's right under your feet.
This is Locally Sourced Spirituality, and I am John Paul. This is episode 3, and I call this one Finding Peace in an Upset Life. And I have to ask for your grace and forgiveness. I've been delaying recording this episode for several days because I've been getting over this nasty cold. So if I cough and sound stuffy, that's why. So, finding peace in an upset life. Our lives constantly get upset. That means, the things that we do, the routines that we have that give us rhythm and comfort, oftentimes get disrupted. And so there's some things coming up that just naturally are disruptions. We're coming to the end of the school year. Perhaps you're graduating from high school, or you're graduating from college, or just coming to the end of a school year and looking towards summer. And life's going to be different. So what's next? How will life be different? Maybe that's not even you. Maybe you've long since put school life behind you, but you still feel like you're far from what you want to be or where you want to be. Or maybe you've been perfectly happy with the life that you have and the way it's been going, but something has recently happened to upset all that. So where is God in all of that? And that's what I want to talk about today. But first, if you like the show, you can go to the Facebook page that I've created called Locally Sourced Spirituality. Just look that up in the search bar. If you like that or push like on that, you'll get the notifications, and I have extra content on there for each episode. There'll be links to new episodes there. And you can also comment and ask questions in that space. It can be a sort of a community space. So I invite you to do that. So I've said it before, and the concept of the Holy Land, in my mind, should not be a notion of geography, but a notion of your spirit. Because you already have everything you need. And not only that, there are people near you that can assist you and accompany you on your journey as they are on their own journey. And I think that's vital, actually. I think it's important to have a community of people journeying together. But you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere else to find the holy. It's right under your feet. A week ago, this past Sunday, in church, we explored a scripture about one of the disciples of Jesus. His name was Thomas. And the thing about Thomas was he witnessed the execution of Jesus and his burial. And he made the mistake of withdrawing from the community. And so he wasn't there when, as the story has it, that Jesus came back. He was alive again, and he came back and he visited with them, with the rest of the disciples. And Thomas didn't believe it. We have this notion that Thomas simply was a person that demanded proof before he would believe. And in fact, the scripture kind of says that. But I have this idea that maybe Thomas was so traumatized by what he witnessed in the previous 2 days that he withdrew from community. And that when they were suggesting that Jesus was alive, that it was such nonsense to him that he met that extreme language with his own extreme language of being grotesque about putting his fingers and the marks of the nails in his hand in Jesus' side. But then Jesus shows up and says, go ahead and put your finger. He meets Thomas with his own language, with his own extremism, I guess you'd say. And he said, Thomas, of course, doesn't need to do those things because that's not what he really meant. He was just trying to create distance because he was so upset. But Jesus was coming along and saying, look at my scars. Look at what I've done. And Thomas also had scars, right? We don't see Thomas's scars. They're not from nails and they're not from a spear. They're spiritual scars. And so Jesus and Thomas have this moment where they show each other their scars, or they're aware of each other's scars. And there's intimacy. It's in knowing each other and being known intimately that we open ourselves to community, to that divine love that flows through all things. When we can understand each other's pain, there's a connection there. Now, the opposite of that is being competitive. The opposite of that is being one-upping each other so that you can have position over one another. We shouldn't be on this adventure of life alone. We shouldn't try to do it all by ourselves. We are who we are, and we can only be who we are, but we should be in a community so we can love and support and encourage each other on this journey. It's our privilege as human beings to lift each other up and to communicate love and forgiveness. And we do that right where we are. We do that right in our space where we are living, and we make the place, the ground that we are standing on, holy by doing those kinds of things. So what is your local? What's your piece of geography that you regularly travel and interact with? It may be just 3 city blocks that you never leave. It might be your retirement village. I know of one man in the music industry that commutes from here in Ludington to an office in Colorado. So this space of Ludington and Colorado, that's his local. See, you find your spiritual practice and you find your life where your local is, no matter how big or how small it is. So here's where I put my money where my mouth is. Well, that's not really a good way to say it, I suppose, because I'm not really spending money. I'm going to be put to the test very soon on this idea of local. So I guess a better way to say it is that the proof will be in the pudding. See, I've spent the last several years here in Ludington, Michigan, developing relationships and getting a rhythm of spiritual practice that's very fulfilling to me. I put down roots. But the thing is, I'm being moved. See, I'm in a system, in a denomination that has bishops, and bishops appoint the pastors where they're needed. And so when we come into the system, we agree. There's almost what's like a vow of obedience. We agree that we'll go to where we're sent. And that there's many benefits to that. That means that there's always pastors and churches that need them. There's the right pastor and the right church with the right gifts to fulfill the mission of the church. So what will this podcast become? It may become something that I'm not quite aware of yet. I say may because I really don't know what it's going to be. It may be about learning a new community. It may be about how to find resources for a spiritual life in a new place, but I'm not really sure if that's what it's going to be. But I'm reminded of one of my favorite movies that contains great spiritual wisdom, and it's Kung Fu Panda. Yes, that is my world. I have 6 kids. I watch a lot of children's programming, but that doesn't diminish the value of the message of the movie. In Kung Fu Panda, there's a sage. It's an elderly turtle named Oogway. And he has tasked his student, Shifu, to take on the training of Po, who is a panda. Now, Shifu is reluctant because he has some preconceived notions about what Po should be. But the thing is, Po doesn't fit into Shifu's mold. Shifu demands that there are things, as he's arguing with Oogway in one scene, and he's demanding that there are things that we can and should control. He uses the metaphor of a peach tree. He says, I can control when the fruit will fall, and he kicks the peach tree and the fruit comes falling down. I can control where to plant the seeds, and he plants a seed. But his master, Oogway, responds, yes, but no matter what you do, that seed will grow to be a peach tree. You may wish for an apple or an orange, but you will get a peach. See, the thing is, you are uniquely you. Have you ever had the experience of someone trying to make you into something other than what you are? Were they successful? Did it work? Are you now something other than what you should be or what you really are? I have this son, and he is in 4th grade, and he has autism. And I say that just to give you a clue that he has some special challenges, but he is a unique and wonderful individual. And one day we had to go and pick him up from school. And now that's a big deal because, like many kids that are on the autism spectrum, he relies on routine and things being predictable. He knows that he gets on the bus with his favorite bus driver, who is pretty and smiles and lets him sit in the front seat. And he knows that that's on particular days that he rides the bus home, and on other particular days in which he has memorized that he goes to another place and he rides with a different bus driver, which is nice but not quite as good as his favorite. So when we go and pick him up from school, that disrupts that whole routine. And he gets very upset, and we do it very carefully. But he is a kid that he can delight in the simplest things. He can delight in life itself, and he can smile, and he can make anyone happy. He is uniquely himself. My task as a parent is to raise him to be the best version of who he already is. See, the key to joy, I think, is being exactly what you are, being exactly what you're made to be. But sometimes we mistake outside and temporary things for internal and eternal things. Sometimes we put our attention on material things rather than heart things. And when the outside things go away and the material things of this world wither, it's possible, and if we've relied on them, we can feel a profound sense of loss. But when we keep our attention on nurturing that seed of our lives, that thing that is who we really are, when we nurture that, outside circumstances can change and we can still have peace. But that's in a perfect world. I mean, I honestly fail at that all the time, especially recently since the announcement of my new appointment to the Lansing area. And that's where I'm going. I have good days, and I have rough days. It's a very difficult time to be in between realities. I'm still the pastor here in Ludington, and yet my attention is being drawn to Lansing, where I will be in a very short time. So I'm saying goodbye very slowly to people I care for, while I'm saying hello to people I know that I will grow to care for. And it's in this middle place that many of us find difficulty in our spiritual lives. Maybe you're about to retire, or you have recently retired, and you haven't found a new rhythm, a new way of life, a new way of being in your skin. And it feels uncomfortable and maybe even chaotic. But that's okay. There's lessons to be learned. So I want to suggest that in this time of disorientation, that you pause and take inventory of what's left. What's left that you can actually count on? When we lose our routines and our crutches, the things that are left tend to be more, eternal things, like faith and hope and love And these are the foundation stones of the spiritual life. When we realize that jobs and cars and material things will inevitably let us down, it's faith, hope, and love that will sustain us through the dark waters of chaos. Now, people can let me down too, but only when they try to draw me in to the lie that I need to be something other than what I am. When they try to form me into their own image, when they try to prune me to look like what they think I should be, that's when I get disappointed in people. Otherwise, I try to have really no expectations of people because I know that they are in their own chaos. I know that they have their own struggles, and I know that they're just trying to get through this life too. You see, when we lose control, if we open our spirit, we can have faith that God will bless us in our blindness and in our weakness. We lose control and we realize that control was always an illusion anyway, just like Shifu was wanting to make Po into something that he was not. We can only be the very best version of what we really are to begin with. And only you can define what that is for you. So here's the hard part. It's a necessary part, but it is difficult. We have to be willing to leave the comfort and security of the familiar to discover what our potential really is. We actually have to enter into that chaos. We have to willingly enter into the dark waters of the unknown to learn the lessons about ourselves so that we can return transformed. I'm going to get my nerd on a little bit here. One of my favorite movies is The Lord of the Rings. And at the very beginning of the trilogy of The Lord of the Rings is a scene at the Shire where the hobbits live, and it's a very nice place. And there's people living their lives and their happy lives, and they work hard and they enjoy life, and everything is safe and secure, and they're kind of oblivious to what happens outside of their little area called the Shire. But there are evil things happening outside the borders of their Shire. And so the movie happens when some of those hobbits leave the Shire and they go out into the unknown, and they take on a task that is very difficult and very dangerous. And they face their own mortality. They face their own death. They are in trouble. They see terrible things. And each one of them comes to the point of reckoning. They know that they have to give up their lives. They know that nothing is secure. But all four of the hobbits that leave the Shire actually return. And at the end of the third movie, the Return of the King, the four hobbits are back from their adventure, back at the Shire, and they are together at a little pub. And they're looking around and they see that their fellow citizens have gone about their lives as if nothing has ever happened. And for them, nothing has. But each of them had a profound experience when they left. They know that things can never be the same as they were before. And they are sitting there together having a drink, and they share a look of mutual understanding. And so they move on with their lives. One of them, Sam, gets married. We don't know what happens with Merry and Pippin, but we presume that they have grown up, because at the beginning of the trilogy they were childish pranksters. But now they've seen terrible things, and they've done heroic things. And then there's Frodo, the protagonist. He goes out and answers yet another call to adventure, and he leaves. See, it's the hero's journey that is outlined by Joseph Campbell. And Campbell says that the unknown is symbolized by going north. North is the unknown, but north is the way that we have to go. Not to go and to stay away, but to go and to learn and to bring back the lessons that we learn to our community. We bring the lessons we learn about ourselves back to the community whenever we have an experience, whenever we have a profound understanding. In my spiritual tradition, Christianity, we gather around a table at worship, and we share a holy meal called Holy Communion, or some people call it Eucharist or Mass. And we bring our lives to that sacred space. The way we say it, it's like we are a holy and living sacrifice. Meaning everything that we have and everything that we are, everything that we've learned, every good thing that we have, we bring into that space, spiritually speaking. But that's not all we bring. We also bring our confession. We call up in our spirits the ways in which we have strayed from doing what was planted in us. We bring up in our spirits how we've been distracted by unnecessary and unhealthy things. And then we set those things before us, and we receive forgiveness for those things, and we regain focus on the important things. And it's truly a beautiful experience. So remember, the chaos is not a bad thing. The chaos is a difficult thing, and it might even be a terrifying thing, but it's a place of learning. It's a place of growing. It's not a place to go and to stay, but it's a place to go and to come back with what you've learned. You may not be going willingly. You may be forced into the chaos through sickness or through circumstances beyond your control. But if you find yourself in that chaos, you can rely on those things that are eternal. Love and hope and faith. And in those spaces, you begin to figure out what defines you. And really only you can define what it means to be you. Because when we give that control over to someone else, you'll always have difficulty finding joy. So how is it with you today? Are you in a place of chaos? Are you in between one life and another? Or are you stuck in the everydayness of life? Perhaps you need to step into the chaos. Perhaps you need to step into the dark waters to create something new. Just remember, just be awesome at who you are and be awesome where you are, and just do it as soon as possible. Talk to you later.
Music is provided by Bleed the Water. Check them out on Facebook. Graphic design by Holly Pole Photography. Go to hollypolephotography.com. This has been a John Pole production.